meet in the pavilion on Tuesday the 9th of July. I am Nathaniel Kelly-Wilson and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we start, there are some housekeeping points to note. We are not expecting a fire drill, so if the fire alarm sounds, please leave as quickly as possible. Fire exits are located to the front of the hall and to the rear of the hall, and the toilets are located behind us. Fire assembly point is at the far end of the car park. Please, could you turn your mobiles off or put them to silent? And we want to be able to hear everybody, so please respect whoever's speaking by not chatting amongst yourselves. You should also be aware that the meeting is being recorded and the recording is being streamed on our social media channels. The meeting will be held entirely in public except for any agenda items where it may be necessary because of a confidential reason. However, we will explain that if we get to that during the meeting. Any decisions made about those items during the closed session will be recorded in draft minutes and will be available on our website as soon as possible. If we could then go to the agenda. Item 1 of the agenda, to note councillors' apologies for absence.
Yes, I've just received apologies from Councillor Hussain, who's been delayed on his way back from work. And also he doesn't think he'll get here in time to attend any of the meeting. But I've also had apologies from Councillors Hume and Weimer, who are attending another meeting. In fact, here they are. Here's one of them. But they sent apologies for lateness.
Thank you. We go on to item 2, to note councillors' declarations of interest in matters on the agenda. If any councillors wish to make a declaration.
I have a declaration of interest in co-option.
Okay.
Candidates for co-option.
Clark, could I ask for your advice on what we should do with that particular?
It's a matter for the council to decide, but I think the test is to think about what another person would think about the fairness of you voting on someone who's a friend.
I don't mind stepping out.
I think that's the best thing.
In time.
Right. Thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest?
I know Jason as well. Do I have to do the same?
Again, it's a matter for you to decide. It depends on how well you know the person and what you think another member of the community might think about it.
Okay. Do you wish to make a declaration?
Yeah, better do.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other persons? No, we will go on to the next item of the agenda, which is to approve the minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 7th of May of full council. Obviously, it's expected that you'll have read this already, so if any members have got any concerns with the accuracy of these minutes, please say so now. Otherwise, I will take it that you are happy for those that those minutes are accurate and you are happy for me to sign against that when they are available. Everyone happy? Agreed. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 3I, to ratify the scheme of delegations.
Yes, Chairman, if I can just speak to that.
Yeah.
We made some amendments to it at the annual meeting and I have faithfully recorded those in the draft. But I wonder if you want to defer this item slightly, because if we co-opt additional members and we may want to change the numbers on the committees, or if we then elect 2 committees. So it might be that we need to make another amendment at that point.
We'll defer the item. We'll go straight to the co-options if you are happy with that, councillors. Yeah. Okay. So if we can go on to item 7, to consider candidates for co-option to vacancies on the town council, and this should be from page 59 in your packs. I will go with the order that they appear in the pack, and obviously it's not in any particular order at all. So
Can I just advise members that Andrew Palmer has had to withdraw his application for co-option for the time being.
Okay, everyone note that? Yep. Okay, so Craig, you've applied to be co-opted to the council. If I could ask you to take up to 3 minutes just to address the council on the reasons why you would like to be co-opted as a councillor, and then following that I will open the floor up to any questions from members, and then the councillors will make their decision in this meeting. Okay, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. First off, thank you for having me here and listening to my application. I've lived in Milton Keynes some time. I was in Newton Lees for about 5 years and recently moved to Eton Lees. And to be honest, I want to be a member of the council to start driving and making a difference in the community. My partner and I regularly volunteer and do other events in Milton Keynes. And I've got a newborn, which is 5.5 months now. And really that sparked a bit in me that says that to make a difference for him and his future, I need to actually kind of invest my time and volunteer more time into my local area and community. And actually that's how I can drive change, and not just for me, but for the future of now my new family, and something that I hadn't really realised before that was deeply important to me. So I'd love to be considered to be a member of this council, to start helping drive change and be a voice of especially my local community. Recently set up a residents association within Eton Lees, and I was nominated as chair, fortunately. So I feel very privileged that I've been asked to chair the residents association, and really feel it's a good conduit for me to be that voice of the community and therefore represent them here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members?
How are you going to find time with the newborn? And do you think you have the time to dedicate some time to being a council? Because it is, I would say, a brilliant job to have, being a councillor, serving the community. But are you going to be
I think that's
active? I mean, I know you're already the chair of this, which is great news, because I mean, from our perspective of the council, it's good to hear that there's a residents association on the Eton Lees and something that's proactive down there. So it'd be good to have someone down there to serve the community.
I think
how you will find the time spread.
It's a really good question, and something that I talked with Delia in depth about around the time needed, and to fully understand what's required in terms of the meetings and the engagement with the community. I think my partner is very supportive, luckily, and she's also on the Residents Association as well. And I think for me, being part of the Residents Association is kind of a good chunk of work already done, so to speak, in terms of that engagement with the community. And so, yeah, I'm not overly concerned with the time needed. Used to working long hours in my job, but yeah, I'm confident that why I'm doing it is more important than I'll find the time and find the time to serve the community as well.
Ed.
Hello.
Hello.
I can't remember if we met in person or not.
We haven't. I couldn't make the meeting. I think.
I reckon we've had contact.
A lot of people. I think we've had contact
around Eton Lees. Really great to see you here. Really great that we've got somebody from Eton Lees wanting to come and stand on this town council. I know there's lots and lots of challenges around new development, and the challenges have been fairly small in comparison to other developments, and there's a challenge for getting some of the resources and the community facilities. What is the one thing that you would, if you were to say in 3-4 years' time when this council for re-election, what is the one thing that you would like to have seen changed?
Probably if I think about my local area, so Eton Lees, I'd like to think that the residents feel a bit more part of the community. I think we felt very detached recently for several reasons, mainly Barrett's, but for several reasons. So I think what I would love to see is that, Eton Lees to feel part of the wider community and actually build similar to what Newton Lees had when I lived there, because it's a fantastic community there where everyone helps everyone and they feel their voice is really heard in the town council. So for me, I would love to see that level of engagement locally. first, and then a bit more of a wider impact into, you know, what we feel is important. We'll be a small voice because it's a small area, but ultimately that's what I'd like to see initially.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's around the same as Ed was asking, so welcome, Craig. So what opportunities do you think Bletchley has to attract more footfall or change, which we sometimes get some more harsh stigma attached to it? So what things do you think we could do better?
I think it stems from engagement, and I think it stems from sending a clear message to people. I think there is a stigma around the local area, and that stems wider than just the people that live there. I think you find that people who live in this town love it and think that the community is brilliant, but actually maybe others outside of it have a certain opinion. I think it's really important that we don't just talk to our local communities, but actually convince others elsewhere that it's not what it seems. And actually drive that interest, to be honest. That sometimes we don't have to tackle it from within. It's actually the outside that we need to actually tackle.
Thank you very much, Craig.
Any other questions from members?
From a resident's point of view and infrastructure, that's what how are people feeling on the estate? That's a big, massive topic about infrastructure.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got resident associations and volunteers and people that are willing to help the community itself. How are they feeling at the moment on the given that there's not a lot of infrastructure there?
Pretty dejected. I'll be honest. I think the path has gone a long way to help. I think people felt very isolated and maybe singled out for those that either can't drive or don't have a vehicle or access off the estate. I think people felt quite unsafe walking down that main road.
Absolutely.
And I think it made them feel very isolated, especially getting young ones to school and nursery and that kind of thing. I think the path has really helped, and actually from a town council perspective, the residents are, you know, speaking back saying we've had more done by the Fenny council than we've had by Barrett's in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's been really welcomed with your engagement, so thank you. I think there's still a long way to go with Barrett's and the bridge, the famous bridge that gets spoken about. I'm sure everyone knows about the bridge, Ed does. I think once that link is there, it'll be better. There's definitely some negativity around what will be the lack of amenities now the estate is a lot smaller, and that's partly maybe mis-selling of Barrett's because they sold it as X without necessarily the intention of doing it.
From a town council point of view, it's the same thing that happened at Newton Lees with the Eastern Arch Urban being the voice over there, and there was a lot of communication and cooperation between the town council and the resident associations and the then build up.
Yeah.
So, I think it's still continuing now, isn't it? Still continuing now, years down the road. So there is a long path to go down.
Yeah. I think if I was to pick the two topics, one's the school, and the other is the doctor's surgery that isn't going to move anymore, Red House, that was intending to, but it wasn't actually viable. I think those are the two main key amenities that will be missed, especially for those that don't drive or don't have accessibility off the estate that easy. Doctors and school are the big concerns.
Okay. Perfect. So if there are no more questions, we'll move to a vote. So you propose that we co-opt. Second up. All those in favour? Okay, so that is unanimous. So if you are happy to sign your declaration of acceptance of office, you can stay and as a councillor this evening and take part in the meeting. And just whilst you're doing that, I can say that it is possible to have a full-time job, a child, and be involved in the council. But I didn't want to lead anybody, so. Although I suppose when your child is 11 like mine, they actually can look after themselves.
It
it didn't start off at 11, so thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so welcome to the council, Councillor Scott. Okay, if we can now go to the next application.
So I'm going to withdraw from this week.
Okay, so Jason Lawrence, would you like to spend up to 3 minutes to tell us why you'd like to be a member of the council? And for members, it's pages, members, it's pages 65 onwards in your pack. Thank you.
Well, it's a hard act to follow. Certainly made it as well. My name is Jason Lawrence. I've lived in Milton Keynes from the 70s. Lived in Bletchley for the last few years. I also run a charity called Return MK, which where we teach children music and multimedia activities. I didn't choose to be a town councillor. I was advised to be a town councillor by Ron and Richard. Hence the reasons, probably, but the reasons why they've left the room. Seems to me my job that I do with the charity, it falls in line with the board and stuff that happens with you guys in the town council. And I think these guys are saying just make it official, you know. I'm a bit nervous because this is something that's totally out of my realm, but I believe I could be a good town councillor, especially with the connections and the things I do with the community already. So it's basically me in a nutshell.
Okay. Any questions from members?
Yeah, so welcome, Jason. And I've been seeing Return at this shop when you had the events on last year. I thought it was fantastic, and you must have seen a lot in the community where you can now bring to the wider sort of parish and town. What sort of things do you think?
Well,
one connections for sure, and you know what you do is really, really good.
Thank you. I mean, our charity predominantly deals with underprivileged youth, but what we've come to find out is there's a lot of disservices or no services for people with autism, and not just the families. So just want to highlight is a way to actually show them in the right direction to make their lives easier, so to speak. So that's one of the biggest things I've seen since I've been in Bletchley, in the Bletchley area.
Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Any other questions from members? Ed.
It's really, really great to see the stuff that you're doing, and I will say this. I think it's really great to see that in the community. I've not visited, probably should at some point. What do you see as the role of as a town? What do you think the role of the town councillor is, and how do you think you will carry out that role?
Well, from looking at my peers, with my friends, Ron and Richard, it's basically we're a conduit to the community to help solve their problems, if we can. I think I'll be key in doing that because of the fact that I help solve problems already with the children I engage with. Now, I know it's not just going to be in that age group. Now it's going to be more of a wider range, and I think I'm prepared to do that. Yeah.
Any other questions from members? No. So do I have a proposal? So Terry, is there a seconder? Uche. Okay, all those in favour of co-option? I think that is unanimous. If you're prepared to sign your documentation this evening, then you will formally become a councillor and you can stay for the meeting this evening.
Thank you.
Your signature on that. Yes, thank you. I think it's my driveway.
So congratulations, Councillor Lawrence. Thank you. Okay, we'll just wait for members to return. If we could now go to item 4, public speaking. I can see that we've got no one here, so no members wish to speak this evening.
Nothing received.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item 5, to note the minutes of recent meetings of committees of the council and to consider any recommendations herein. So the 5.1 is minutes of the meeting of the Finance and Governance Committee. Are all members happy with the minutes of that meeting? Yes? We can hand over to the chair of that committee. I think you've got some recommendations to propose.
I think there are two, Chair. The first one, minute reference, FC 24, 25/25, recommendation to approve LGPS pensions discretions policy. This is where the town council has some discretionary powers within the overall pension scheme. We have listed those and the committee agreed to a certain procedure. And we recommend it to full council.
So my understanding is actually there is no change to that policy.
Just dates.
Just a review of the
Just a review of dates.
So all members happy to adopt that policy for the next year? Okay, I believe that's unanimous. And then you've got another one.
Minute reference, FC 24/025/26, recommendations to approve air conditioning / cooling works for Newton Leeds provision. This one here. There's two systems. One is for this room, and the other one is basically for the sports hall. Because the sports hall is that much larger, it's a slightly different system. But the recommendation from finance is for it to be approved.
Okay. Anything you want to add?
I think there's a photograph. There's some photographs in the pack because I think the Finance and Governance Committee wanted to approve the expenditure, but wanted to be happy that that the system didn't interfere with the aesthetic of the building, and that's why the photographs have been included.
Yep.
Okay, so it does slightly, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's not as beautiful as we'd like it to be, but
yeah, the recommendation would still stand.
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, anyone got any comments about that recommendation? Which should possibly mean that we might be able to have a meeting in this room without the windows open during the summer and being interrupted by the railway line. Ed.
How noisy is this the system? I know it's a bit of a random question, but I wouldn't want to, given the use of this space, I'm sure it will be fine, but I don't know if that was considered.
I don't know if it was considered.
What's that? Sorry.
The noise that the system might make.
Noise will be outside or inside?
Not necessarily.
I mean,
I'm just thinking about the use of the rooms and just that bit's just a little bit. I mean, in principle, I'm fine with it, but I think we just need to be. I'm sure on the specification it's got the decibels of.
So I think there is the opportunity to go back and ask that question.
Definitely.
But also, it's people are having the windows open at the moment and hearing trains go past on the West Coast Main Line.
That's also part of the issue.
So yes, okay. So all members that are happy to accept the recommendation from the Finance Committee, we will of course ask the Environment and Premises Manager to go back and ask a question about noise so we can have that information back, but would like agreement tonight. All those members that are happy with the proposal? Anybody against? Anyone abstaining? Okay, I believe that also was unanimous. Yeah. Next item of the agenda. Sorry.
The eagle-eyed will have spotted that there was a recommendation on the Albert Street toilet refurbishment. I haven't forgotten that recommendation, but we're going to be looking at the specification for the Albert Street toilets again. So it's been put on as a, so it'll come back, or it'll go to Finance and Governance.
Okay.
They were the ones who made the recommendation in the first place, so there's no need for it to be overridden.
Next item, 5.2, minutes of meeting, Tuesday the 18th of June of Community and Environment Committee. All members happy to accept those minutes as true and accurate record of meeting?
We're supposed to note them.
Yeah, it's just for noting.
Just for noting.
It's for noting.
Yeah.
Approval.
Thank you very much. Now on to the next item of the agenda, which is item 6. To note that we have received a declaration of acceptance of office from Councillor Mo Inram and to elect Councillor Inram to committees and working groups. under this item, can we also admit
Yes.
the two?
Yes.
So I will widen that to also elect Councillor Scott and Councillor Lawrence to committees and working groups. Okay, did you want to take us through what?
Yes, well, we at full council, because we hadn't had a full because we had so many casual vacancies, we agreed to reduce the committee size, and so we actually have a full complement for the finance for the community environment already, and we have one space on finance and governance. However, those figures, those numbers were determined on the basis of the number of councillors that we had at the time, and the importance of meeting quorum. So if you have 10 members on the committee, you've got a quorum of 4. If you've got 9 members, you've got a quorum of 3. It's pretty low quorum in any case. So, I mean, the question is really what the preference of the councillors are, if they wish to join any of those committees, and what full council feels about the size of the committees. And I don't know whether you think it's better to discuss the size of the committees first, or to hear what the preferences are.
What do people think?
Preferences.
Yeah. We'll do that first. And I think that we are looking at either for the Finance and Governance Committee and or the Community and Environment Committee.
Yes.
Yeah. So, does anyone have any preferences? Councillor Inman?
No comment from me. I just joined, so I would wait for other people to come in.
Okay. Councillor Lawrence?
Community and environment.
I thought that would be a really good one for you, and I also think that with regards to, I think that we are lacking a link maybe in this council to youth, and I think that it would be really good to have your experience on that committee. All those happy to elect Councillor Lawrence to the community and brilliant. Did you want to stand for anything else, or was just that one?
Just that.
Okay. And Councillor Scott?
My preference would be community and environment, but I'm equally happy with finance and the governance. There is a space. And
you can go, if you want to go on both, then we can put that forward to the councillors if you want.
I would appreciate being put forward for both.
Okay. Any members got any questions? No? Okay, everybody happy to elect Councillor Scott to those 2 committees?
Yep.
Yeah, always in favour? Okay, I think that is unanimous. Did you want to have a think, or do you want to come back?
Go on the committee environment as well.
Okay.
Everybody okay with it?
That's fine. So we'll need to, I think we'll need to adjust the quorum for that committee, but that's fine. I'll update this document yet again. And are you confident that I will do that accurately and doesn't need to come back?
Are we happy for the clerk to go away and adjust the document and sign it off in consultation with me and the vice chair? Yep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to come back.
Thank you. So it doesn't need to come back. So we'll do that, and that is delegated. All those in favour of that decision? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is unanimous. Okay. The next item on the agenda is item 8, to review and comment on planning applications due to be considered by Milton Keynes Council. First item 8.1, 2400956, Tudor House, Western Road, Bletchley, change of use of existing annex to create a new dwelling house. Anybody got any comments with regards to this? Okay, does anyone wish to make a comment? No, so we will make no comment on the application. All those in favour? Thank you. Next item, 8.2, 2401129, 15 Bacara Grove, Bletchley, retention of carport with pedestrian gate and double leaf swing gate. Anyone wish to make any comments? Okay, so everyone happy with no comments?
Great.
Okay, thank you. Next item, 8.3, 2401097, 95 Duncombe Street, Bletchley, installation of external wall insulation, retrospective. So it already happened. Anyone wish to make any comments about that? No comments. Okay, 8.4, 24.01327, 38 Westfield Road, Bletchley, proposed single-storey rear extension to replace the existing conservatory. Anyone wish to make any comments on that? No comment. No, so no comment, thank you. Next item is 8.5, 24.01.330, 21 Oxford Street, Bletchley, proposed single-storey rear/side extension. Anyone wish to make any comments in front of that? Okay, so no comment will be made. Thank you. Next item is item 9, to 9.1, to note a summary financial report showing income and expenditure against budget to date. So this will show the budget position as of the end of June.
Yes.
Anyone got any questions in relation to the budget? No, so
Are we in budget?
Better be.
Well, yeah, the worry if we weren't at the end of the first quarter. I think there'd be some scratching of heads to the office apart from anything else.
there are no negative variances, so we are okay.
That's good.
Everybody happy to note that report? Yeah, thank you. Next item is to 9.2, to ratify a list of payments made or due to be made by the council before the next meeting. Anybody have anything they want to ask about payments on this list?
Agreed.
Okay, everyone happy to agree that payments can be made? Agreed. Thank you. Next item is item 10, Town Council Strategic Priorities and Business Plan. 10.1, to approve the council plan and strategic priorities for the term 2024 to 2028. You have been sent a copy of this document. Has anybody got any questions about the document? Is there anything you would like to say about the document, Clark?
Just to say that we will print it up. This is the content, and we will make it look more exciting with photographs and so on. But we left it in this format so that councillors could focus on the content. I did put this forward for as an agenda item before the end of the last year and asked for feedback. I've not had anything. So this plan has been based on my understanding of existing council policy and priorities. So if there are changes, I mean, it's a living document, it can be changed further down the line. It doesn't have to, be set in stone for the whole 4-year term. But that's where the content has come from, my knowledge and what we had last year. And then the delivery plan, again, there aren't really any new projects in there. Those are known projects. But again, it isn't set in stone. New projects and initiatives can be added. And obviously it doesn't include the business as usual plan with all the items that we...
Is it possible, I don't know if it's allowed, is if we can have, because we've got the sort of clean and greener, the community environment, to have that as an agenda item? Standing agenda item?
A standing agenda item, yes.
We review it,
Yes.
because there's something about councillors joining the local climate action forum.
Yeah.
Progress, things where we can actually push them forward a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, we can make it a standing
Good, then we
agenda item for all the committees to review.
think it'd be a good idea just to keep it fresh and in people's, to read it.
Okay.
What we're on the hook for.
Brilliant. Any other comments? No? Thank you. So noted and approved. All those in favour? Thank you. So that is unanimous. Next item on the agenda is 10.2, to approve the council delivery plan. Yeah.
Oh, the same
Same thing. Okay.
Just
So
approve them
we've done.
together.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Next item 11, to consider a response to the public consultation on the local government boundary review of Milton Keynes City Council wards. That has now been extended to the 9th of September 2024. Members should note that the review of ward boundaries at MKCC is more than likely to be followed by a community governance review conducted, which could affect parish councils it's already been agreed that the number of councillors on Milton Keynes City Council will be increased from 57 to 60. Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Well, I'd just like to draw attention to the spreadsheet in the pack, which shows you that variances in the different wards, the city council wards. You can see that ours is not the ward that is the most at variance with what is ideal, but we are in the top few. Our wards, Bletchley East particularly, is one of the ones where there's potential for change. So I do think it's important that the town council considers this carefully, because it could have an impact on, it could drive a community governance review, which could affect the parish boundary. I'm not sure how likely that is. We haven't seen Milton Keynes City Council's response to this consultation yet, because they haven't approved it. So they've said they'll put it in the public domain once they have, but we haven't had sight of it yet. So whether you think it's premature to respond to this now, I don't know, but I know that Councillor Hume had some thoughts about this.
So I've been on the working group on the City Council, which provided the submission to the Local Boundary Commission, Local Government Boundary Commission. We recommend 63. Actually, the Boundary Commission cited on 60 councillors for the City Council. I think I've just got a whole spelling out in the document, yes, but that's not yours.
That's not ours.
The idea of the community governance review is it's more likely to be, I don't see it necessarily happening too much in this area because of where the boundaries are. They're fairly sensible. It's where there might be a need to make a ward rounded numbers that they may well kick off a community governance review. But I don't see that having a huge impact in terms of our council area. I mean, it might do if it could do, I suppose, but it's unlikely. I think one of the key things that, I mean, without doing our own work of warding the whole of Milton Keynes, which I don't necessarily suggest we do as a town council, I think it might be important to say what we think is important around what a ward looks like. So the Boundary Commission, they have to create roughly even numbers with a divergence of about plus or minus 10% across all of the wards, but based on the expected electorate in 2029. But one of the key things is to say they look at where communities are and they want to form those boundaries around communities. Now, each ward will be a 3-member ward, but it might be that we want to say actually what's really important in terms of what our boundaries are. Now, currently we have a ward that goes across 2 parish council areas. I don't know, I've not really thought about it this. I've thought about it in different ways with my political hat on. As a party political person, I've been thinking about it more along those lines. But it might be something that we want to consider as a town council as what's important to us in terms of the wards. Do we want, I don't think we'll have 2 whole wards in the town council area. I think we will have 1 and a bit.
We do now.
Yeah.
I also have been looking at this number, and you're right. I think that the Boundary Commission will look at communities, and the actual surprising fact is actually the biggest community in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford is now Newton Lees, according to the voter numbers that they'll be looking at.
Based on Poland district.
But it's really difficult, I think, it was really, for what boundaries would go together. And actually, when I kind of look at this, I think I would see perhaps more of our area going into Bletchley Park and some of Bletchley Park going into Bletchley West. If they actually had to balance things out, that is the kind of thing that they would possibly do. And what we might want to consider, and it's maybe not for tonight, is actually, do we want to comment on what are the areas within Bletchley and Fenny Stratford which are the most natural communities that kind of sit together? So actually, should Eton Lees be paired with, I don't know, the kind of, where does it have a natural grouping to, if that's, that's just a suggestion, but it could be Queensway and or Granby or whatever, where do these fit in, and what is the most natural community that they do? I don't necessarily know that we can actually make a decision on this tonight, but
no, I did wonder if it was something you wanted to delegate to finance and governance. Unfortunately, we have got to respond before the next full council, which is on the 10th of September, unless for some reason we hold an extraordinary council meeting when it could be considered again, if we have an extraordinary council meeting between that now and the 10th of September, which is possible we might do.
Okay, members, are you happy to delegate it to finance and governance, or would you like this to be discussed at full council at an extraordinary meeting?
Well, Chair, I think we go to finance and governance because any member can come to that meeting and speak on it. So I would think that for expedient.
Okay, is that a proposal?
That's what would be.
Is that seconded?
So, yeah. I second it. The one thing I would add is that the next stage in the boundary commission will be after this submission will be when they publish their draft proposals, and at that point we'll be able to comment on it again, and we might be able to reiterate some of the comments and depending on where those lines are, we may then want to do a bit more detailed work on that.
I would just make the point that in my experience, once they've published their draft, it is quite difficult to achieve change.
2014 Milton Keynes boundaries changed?
I know it can happen, but I just would make the point that I think it's important to get the arguments in as early as possible.
Retaliate further.
Okay, so that is seconded. All members happy to vote on that? All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? I think that is unanimous. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, to respond to Milton Keynes City Council's public consultation on extension and variation of alcohol PSPO, that's Public Space Protection Order, for Milton Keynes, including the entirety of Bletchley and Stratford Parish, for a further 3 years. Is there anything we previously supported the initial introduction of this 3 years ago, and I do believe it's actually had an impact, a positive impact, because it allows the police to take alcohol away from people to deal with areas of public disorder involving alcohol. Is there anything you want to say about this?
Well, I agree. I think that from our point of view as officers, we've had fewer complaints. About it. So I'd be astonished if you weren't going to support it, because there's no change. They're not proposing any change to the geographical area. I've completed this consultation on my own behalf. It's really quick to complete, so I do encourage councillors to complete it individually as well. It's very quick to complete. It really is a very short survey that you need to do. I don't know whether you feel you want to comment on the extension areas or whether you just want to comment on Bletchley and Fenny.
I think we should open Bletchley and Fenny. Are there any, or if we were to make a general comment, if councillors are minded that it's had a positive impact in our area and may also be positive in other areas? Sorry, Eamon.
Carry on with the scheme, because I know we lost a few drunks, passed away, but they've been replaced, so don't get personal.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
I've noticed that in the last 3 years, I've noticed a drop in drink problems in central Bletchley and the area, and antisocial behaviour. I think we should carry on with this.
Anyone else want to say? Got a proposal?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Support the proposal, Chair.
Okay, is that seconded?
There's a comment on the extension area.
Okay. Do you want to comment on the extension areas, or even if should we say that it's been a positive impact in our area and other areas might welcome an extension? Yeah. Okay, so are you happy to amend your?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 13. Clark, could I ask you to email the individual response link out?
Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
Thank you. Item 13, to note progress with the lease of Albert Street Public Conveniences and to delegate approval of the lease to the Finance and Governance Committee. A draft lease has been provided by Milton Keynes City Council to the Town Council's solicitors, which has complied with the heads of terms which have previously been approved by the Council. The Town's Council solicitors have sent this back with a couple of drafting matters for revision. Council is asked to delegate approval of the lease to the Finance and Governance Committee, which will do so at its next meeting on the 6th of August if the lease is ready at that time. Anything you want to add to that? No. So I will propose that we note the progress and delegate approval to Finance and Governance Committee. That's seconded. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, you've got a question? No? All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? So that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ed.
On the next item, can I declare an interest? I am the Cabinet Member for Milton Keynes City Council for Housing and Regeneration, and I don't think it will be appropriate for me to comment on the use of Spotlight when one of the main uses of it asks for regeneration. So I feel like that should be something for the council, and I will be taking myself away from that.
Okay, thank you, Nathan. Okay, so next item is to receive a report, item 14, to receive a report on the current use of the Spotlight building and to consider potential trial of a community shop. Is there anything that anyone that wants to speak to this?
Can I just say something quickly? Just like to point out that Zulf, who is the Community Engagement Manager for Regeneration, has come along. If anyone's got any questions, if you're willing to allow that, Chair. The report mentions the trial of a shop. And after I've written the report, I mean, obviously I know you've not got detailed information about potential shop. After I've written the report and I was reflecting on it, I thought actually maybe using the word shop has kind of given a bit of a false impression. I think we're looking at food provision rather than a full-blown shop. So I just wanted to make that clear that in the report, when we're talking about a shop, we don't mean a full-on community shop. But that's the terminology I've used because of the shorthand. That's all I wanted to mention. If there's any questions on the report, happy to answer them.
Salter, is there anything that you would like to inform councillors about what this would be for people on that on the
legislation? I think it's in the body of the report really about the unless Wyman wants to give an update on some of the feedback that she's had from some of the residents about not having a unit on site.
Maria, is there something you'd like to say?
I just wanted to see how you went first before I had.
Councillor Brown's got a question.
I've got a question for you, Regent, gentlemen. I just wanted to know why they shut the shops early when they're not coming down for the next 5 to 10 years. Do you know the reason why?
Yeah, I've sent a statement to Clark and we are going to be circulating that in different formats.
Yeah.
Basically, the condition of the property was so bad that we had to shut it early. It was a health and safety issue about us leaving those properties open. Environmental health had you know.
But they've been like that for years. Just all of a sudden it shut. You know, and the Milton Keynes Council didn't do nothing about years ago. I just want to know why it had to be done so quickly and the residents weren't informed as well as what they should have been informed that you were going to shut it. It's just, I looked on Facebook, next minute, both the shops are shut. I think the council should have notified the residents a lot better. Then they could have made adequate with their prescriptions. We've got both shops at the end of the estates anyway, but it's the prescription side of it was the shop.
Right, to answer your question, the properties, as the properties have been coming vacant above that, there's been water ingress. So, you know, as more properties on 79 Court have been coming vacant, the worse the condition is. So you're saying that it happened abruptly, it happened quickly. Well, the fact that we're moving people out of Serpentine Court means that obviously the condition of the property every day is getting worse. So we came to the decision that we had to shut shops because of the health and safety reasons. Sorry?
No, I'm just saying it's been like that for years, so, you know.
Well, it was getting worse.
Yeah.
Progressively worse.
Okay, so question's been answered. Any other questions?
Would it be the town council's responsibility to be running a shop at the food? We do a food bank, we support a food bank anyway, don't we?
Well, it would be a different offer from the food bank, because the food bank, we have a collection point for food bank parcels. The food bank parcels are emergency food parcels for people who are in crisis. That would continue between 12 and 2 every day in Spotlight. If we go with this alternative food provision, this would be about providing convenience shopping support rather than meeting the needs of people who are in crisis. So they're two separate kind of, they're responding to two separate.
Support more the elderly that can't get to the further shops, and young families that need to grow.
And who will be who will be manning?
I think, as I've tried to make clear in the report, the full details of the shop proposal are not available at this point because we've already done quite a bit of work on it, but we have not established the supply for the food provision. So we've been liaising with Sophia about supply, so we haven't established that yet. We've had some offers of voluntary support from volunteers, but that is why I haven't put forward a fully detailed proposal about a shop, for want of a better word. I've put forward a report on Spotlight with a number of other issues in it, not just the shop. And I'd like you to consider them in the order that they're in the report, because I think that's logical. And then I'd like you to sort of give your view on the principle of having some sort of food provision in Spotlight, because we do need to do more work on it. If that's all right with you, Chair. I mean, I'm happy to dot about, but I think there's I've tried to put the proposals for consideration in a logical order. Just to pick up on one point that Councillor Brown made, she was suggesting that the shops might not be coming down for 4 or 5 years. I don't know if you've got a comment on that, because we are expecting demolition sooner than that, are we?
Yeah, we are expecting it sooner than that. It would have to be subject to planning permission.
Okay, so the first item that we are considering is the matter of Spotlight itself, and what is the proposal that we're asking councillors to discuss. It's just whether we want to, noting that there will be services removed, it's whether we want to keep the Spotlight open for the community, especially during the regeneration period, and also that the IT equipment has become end of life, and it's whether we wish to replace that IT equipment for use by the community in some form or other, and whether that's funded by us or if we find grants to fund that stuff. So could we take any questions or comments about Spotlight first? Ron?
What is the lifespan of Spotlight from now until when?
I don't think we know for definite, but I think we've got at least 2 years of usage before it's likely to be, and it could be long, could be considerably long.
So we should be looking at 2 years, hopefully more.
Potentially more.
Well, I mean, the 2 years, Ron, hopefully would fit in with the refurbishment of Sycamore before, wouldn't it, and the hub. So one could take over from the other, hopefully. So I don't see what alternative we have other than to keep Spotlight going in the interim.
One conversation.
Otherwise, what other facility is? Milton Keynes Council have done a pretty good job of getting rid of everything. So what if we don't provide it, no one else is going to. Which is a pretty sad state of affairs, I really do.
I mean, as a council, we've always subsidised and looked after Spotlight and the community in on the lakes. And I think it's our duty to sort of like keep it open until such times as it goes. In what format and what we do out there is another matter. I do think that the computer equipment and stuff like that in that guise at the moment, the IT suite can go because it's at end of life for the computers, but we still have some sort of internet access for the people in the community, as in laptops or whatever the situation may be, but it doesn't have to be an IT suite. It can be access to a laptop that they can use if they haven't got the access to that in the first place. So in what sort of like, I think we keep Spotlight, but we use it efficiently for what's going to be there on the Lakes Estate for now. What that looks like is what we have to decide.
Any comments or any other comments or questions? No? So will we, do we have a proposal there?
There are some proposals that I put in the report for you to consider, but obviously you've got to move them if you're minded.
Okay, so I will move them so people can either amend them or discuss more. But the first one, item 1, that the town council renews its commitment to keeping the Spotlight building open until either the Sycamore Hall or the community pub, which is part of the Lakes regeneration, is available. So that's seconded. All those in favour of that? Anybody against? Any abstentions? That is carried unanimously. Number 2, that the IT equipment in the computer room is decommissioned and removed. Replacement of existing equipment with a small number of laptops for supervised community use could be considered, especially if funding can be secured from a third party, e.g. Graham. This matter could be delegated to Finance and Governance Committee, which deals with it and with premises. With IT, sorry. Sorry.
It's all right, it's me, but
anybody got any questions or comments about that? So that is seconded. I would just like to add to vary this to state, if funding cannot be secured from a third party, I would hope that we would be able to get funding, or are we happy to buy a smaller number of laptops from reserves to replace that equipment? We've probably got an IT budget somewhere. So will anyone second that with the amendment? Okay. All those in favour of that? Anybody against? And any abstentions? So I think that is also carried unanimously. Item 3, that the existing maintenance budget for Spotlight in 2024 to 2025 revenue budget of £1,000 is used for deep cleaning of the carpet and repainting to refresh the worst of, to give it a spruce.
That's what's in the budget. That's what is in the budget for maintenance. So it would mean, that's why I put it in the report. That's the only one we've got allocated in the budget for maintenance of the building, and it would take all of it, potentially a little bit more, to sort of improve it for the period of,
next 2 years.
Yeah, the next 2 years. So that's why that figure's included, because that was already in the budget. If you feel that it would be beneficial to spend more.
Does anybody have any comments or questions about that?
I think we've got to maintain a minimum standard, Chair. And if that takes more than £1,000, I think we've got to do it. We've got to bite the bullet at some time, haven't we? I mean, I don't want to go overboard because the building's got a limited life, but I think it needs to be.
While it's there, we have to maintain it properly.
I completely agree. I don't want any community space in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, anyone thinking that people have got a better standard of refurbishment than another. Yeah. Yes. Any other comments? No.
Are we going to put a figure more than £1,000?
So should we ask for quotes back to the Finance and Governance Committee?
Yes, I think if you finance and governance to oversee the refurb.
At least we have an idea of it.
Yeah. Everybody else happy with that? So we get some quotes and then go back to Finance and Governance. Okay, so all those in favour of you're clear on what the conditions. So all those in favour of the amended motion. Any abstentions? Anybody against? Okay, that's unanimous. Next item is item 4, that the council considers the future use of the building and gives guidance to officers specifically on the potential use of spotlights as a food distribution point, and or any other priorities for any other projects which might be based at spotlight. Before we move that, any questions or comments? Anyone want to say anything about this? Keith?
I had the impression that the chemist pharmacy was going to move in there.
Yeah, no, I don't. You're not the only person who said that. I think there must have been a member of staff at the chemist who was telling people that, but that was never a viable option. We offered Jardines the opportunity when Milton Keynes asked us if we'd be willing to have Jardines. We said that we would certainly consider it, but they didn't come back to us.
I was in there one.
I know.
And I got that in. And excuse me. And one of the Jardine directors was in there, and he didn't disagree. No.
I wrote to the director, immediately after we'd had that conversation, and I've never received a response from him.
And we had residents. They've had residents come to Spotlight thinking the same
thing. Yeah, we have.
Because someone else said it.
Okay.
I'd like to see a little bit more on proposed for the shop and
well, I'm asking for
information.
If you feel you can't give a response in principle, then that's a matter for you. There are, I think I've highlighted in the report, there are some issues, some obstacles to be overcome. Which, you may feel you haven't got enough information to make an in principle decision, but I'd hope that you might be able to, based on the information that I put in the report.
Is it that critical? When you've got Asda one end and they can't at the other end?
That's why it would just be a trial. So I think the words convenience shop is probably a bit strong because it's more of to support people with their day-to-day, like kids for packed lunch, elderly with bread and milk. I think it's been a shop, it's a bit overpowering. It's not going to be like a big...
The essentials.
Yeah, it's just the main essentials to help support.
You said it was actually aimed at, rather than kind of the general community, it's aimed at specific sections of the community. Yeah.
That's the sort of information that I just need to be there to make my mind up. So it's just about understanding.
For me, if we're saying that in principle is, if we in principle do it, we're going to come back with something that is, more worked out and more detailed. I think for me, my position, my own individual position, what I put forward is I sit on the Employment Policy Committee and we sit there and talk about resources all the time. I don't think that we have got time within our officer schedules to actually man it, but would I be happy for the kind of community to run something there as long as it doesn't mean that our officers have to man it? In principle, I'd be happy to get that further information and do that. And make the decision based upon that. But I personally would not want to see this being manned by our officers because I think that we've got other priorities.
I agree with you. But I was going to come on to the fact that when this proposal of redevelopment came up, one of the critical questions was the continuation of services from Serpentine Court. And Milton Keynes Council guaranteed that there would be continuous provision. They would provide temporary buildings within Serpentine Court area for those shops that wanted to remain.
That's what I remember.
And what have we got? Nothing. There's not one. I mean, it's disgraceful. the fact that they can just walk away from a commitment that they've given to get the proposal through, gave commitments that they are no longer honouring. I think that's appalling.
And can I just come in?
Sorry?
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but also you need to think, I mean, me living there, I know what resources there is, and there is none. So if there was like a building that could probably be used, then I think we would be using it, but there isn't anything. And I think that's where the problem.
But what they were going to do was put in these 40-foot containers and use them as temporary shops. And they were, even to the extent that if a shop wanted more than one container, they could link them internally. So it was done on a positive basis. I think they should. Milton Keynes need to be challenged.
I remember this conversation, and I actually remember it was some time ago, and I also remember that I talked about. Obviously, I've been in Newton Lees now for 10.5 years, and I spoke about the experience of opening Asda in Newton Lees. And actually, I asked a question about when they said, oh, we're going to have about an 18-month gap with no shops. And I said, well, if anything happens like it did in Newton Lees, actually the data that came out of Asda when it was originally opened was that there was more people who shopped from the Lakes Estate than they did in Newton Lees. And when I was asked why I thought this was the case, is people in Newton Lees have been here since 2007, and actually they learned new behaviour. Like, so for instance, massive Sainsbury's next door to my office in Hemel Hempstead. I shopped there on a Friday night and brought my shopping back with me because that's how I form my habits to get my stuff. And so if I put the question at the time, if there is no shops in the interim, do you think that people will form new shopping habits and that the shops will actually become less busy as a point? And I do think that does need to go back to the council and for them to consider. So I agree with you.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Who's going to run it? Obviously, those shops. Have you spoke to the people who they own the shops? They're going to run in containers?
No. I think perhaps what we have to recognise is that expectations were set. I agree, because I was in some of the meetings, and expectations were set by Milton Keynes Council about what would happen in the transition during regeneration. But that was before the Ukraine war, and the budget for the build and everything has changed out of all proportion. I don't know why Milton Keynes Council now are not prepared to offer units, temporary units, but I don't think they've got tenants who wish to continue on that basis, is my understanding. I mean, Zulf might be able to say more.
I think a lot of the points are covered in terms of what you've been talking about, and certainly the point about shopping habits. Essentially, what this is going to be, and the point that Councillor Weimer made about what available buildings there are locally, are key ones. And coming back to what the provision is, it will be essential groceries, and on a trial basis is what we're putting forward. Regarding why decisions were made initially about those promises, I can't comment on them, unfortunately. But yeah, we are where we are in the sense that that there is limited space at the bottom of the state, and
what a comment, we are where we are. Of course we are. But the point is that the proposal was agreed to by all the parties on the basis of those promises, and they were more than just about the shop. And yet now they walked away from it.
In the interesting of time, I think we'll note those comments. Is there any?
I will make a proposal that we refresh the memory of Milton Keynes Council to their previous proposals.
So going back to the shop, I'm just thinking about the liability of if the more information comes along, and the liability of who's going to be ordering the food, who's going to be serving the food, and the liability to the council is what I want to.
So what we're saying is, in principle, go away and we're saying yes, if that's what members are happy to, go away, come back with a more deeper proposal to include all of the things that you said.
Because I really I mean, what I've said in the report is that I do want guidance from council about how you want to expend council staff resources. Do you want me to go away and work on this with colleagues from Milton Keynes City Council and with Marie and so on? And then there will be a more detailed proposal come forward. Or do you not? You know, and that's really why I'm asking that. And I'm also asking in the report for you to highlight the other priorities you've got for any other projects which might be based at Spotlight over the period between now and when it's demolished.
Problem is, if we don't do it, no one's going to do it.
Exactly.
And
it's a trial.
So unless you or someone member of staff gets involved in it, then it's not going to happen.
Okay. Well, no, that's why I want your approval to get involved in it.
Yeah, I think we should.
And it's the main key thing is the word is trial. We do a 12-week, for example, a 12-week trial. And if the demand's not there, you leave it.
Yeah. So, members happy with that. With regards to other facilities, are everyone also happy with some IT equipment, which we said? I also think that we have been told in another report in this that the jobs activity is going to be removed from the Lake Estate, and I would like to know what impact that's going to have locally on, if any. I mean, I don't know because they want to centralise everything if actually it's gone down, but I think it would be nice to have some metrics on that.
I mean, I can ask. I think that from an observational point of view, just using the building, I think that over the last 2 years, use of the job club has declined since the college took over the provision.
Okay.
I think it's declined. I don't think it's been as well used.
Okay. All right. Everybody happy with those points? Yep. All those in favour? Anybody against? Any abstentions? No, we can ask the two councillors that have left, or the one councillor that's left, to come back in.
Get him out there.
So cool. Okay, item 15, to receive a report on the progress of Sycamore Buildings project.
Yeah, there isn't a written report on this. Chair, I just really wanted to draw attention to what was in the last finance and governance minutes. And I don't know, Councillor Ely would like to speak on it.
Would I? Oh.
I just highlight it.
I think I'm going to go back to the report now. So, sorry, Chair, can give me a moment.
Yeah, I mean,
105.
I mean, to be honest, the situation that we're in at the moment is that we don't have the detailed costings from the quantity surveyors yet, and we won't have them until the end of this month. We have taken advice on our fundraising activities, and we've been given advice that a lot of the funds that we're interested in applying for will not accept detailed costings from quantity surveyor. They want us to go out to procurement and have actually procured costs. I think that's going to present a problem for us in terms of timescale, because we need to build into the procurement activity a way of procuring, getting costs, then seeking funding, then go back to the people who. I mean, it just seems very complicated to me. I think we need further advice on it. That was what we talked about at the last finance and committee meeting. So I think we do have a steering group meeting as soon as we get the costs from the quantity surveyor. And I think we all agreed that until we'd got that, we weren't really in a position to make any further decision. Because when we got those costs, they could be markedly different from our high level costs that we had now some considerable time ago. So at the moment, I think we're just.
Any questions or comments? No, is that everyone had it?
Is that roughly right, Jeff?
Thank you for taking me out of that hole, Tina.
Everybody happy to know about reports?
Lots of it. I've lost the whole damn lot there.
Okay. Item 16, to receive a progress report on Bletchley and Fenny Stratford neighbourhood plan from the MP steering group and to agree a date for an extraordinary meeting of full council to fully update members about the plan so far and its role as the sponsoring body for the plan.
Would you like me to speak about this? Councillor Hussain wants going to speak about this. Chair, would you like me to say a few words and then you could perhaps, you and Councillor Graham could supplement it?
Yes.
What Councillor Hussain has asked me to say is that he's very supportive of the proposal to have an extraordinary meeting of full council to fully update members on the plan and to clarify the town council's role as sponsoring body for the plan. We feel as if the council has somewhat, I think when we had the discussions with the steering group last week, it felt as if the council sort of lost touch with the day-to-day of what's happening with the project. We've recently received quite a lot of technical information from AECOM, both regarding the housing needs assessment. There's been some work done on the design codes, and also we've had a draft strategic, lost my words now. What's it called, John? The SEA assessment, strategical environmental assessment. And we feel as if we could have put all those documents on the agenda tonight, but I think it's an awful lot to read and understand, and what would be more helpful would be if we actually had a meeting and we did a presentation and took everyone through those documents and what they mean and how they might impact on the progress that we make going forward. So that is what he asked me to say. He also asked me to, Councillor Hussain also asked me to say that to congratulate the members of the officers and the members of the group on the work they've done, but we do feel as if the group has stalled somewhat and we need a new injection of energy and impetus on this. And that's another reason to have the extraordinary meeting and to pool our resources to think about the best way to achieve that going forward.
I'd like to say that the neighbourhood plan is something that, as new councillors coming in now, is about the ethos of the council and what direction each council's going in. But to say that the neighbourhood plan is designed for all the councillors to get behind, as in we are elected councillors and co-operative councillors that serve the public. Now, our decisions here around the table will affect the future of Bletchley, will affect future generations. The neighbourhood plan will sit alongside Milton Keynes strategic plan, but unless we have a neighbourhood plan for Bletchley and Fenny Stratford, unless we have that, then builders can come in and just do what they want. Now, it's important, and I think the chair of the neighbourhood plan wants to reiterate, it's important that all the councillors here around the table for council understand the importance of this neighbourhood plan, and that we all get behind the neighbourhood plan, as we all are in our own little wards. We are here to serve the people, and it's for the people, by the people. So we have to get behind the neighbourhood plan. We have to finish this piece of work. We spent a considerable amount of time and effort, public resources, and we need to finish this plan as Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council. And I think this is why we're having an extraordinary meeting, so that full council will get behind this project and finish what we start.
I'd also like to add, I think that, so I know that councillors attend a lot of meetings as is. I think my number is something like 34 a year, so I really do appreciate kind of the numbers that people have to go to. I think that this is the really interesting bit that we're coming into now. Every single councillor, it's very interesting that members always seem to attend more on the evenings that there are planning items, and they're really concerned about development that goes on in Bletchley and Fenny Stratford. But for some reason, there's not the same level of interest in the neighbourhood plan, which is going to be the only thing that control the development that everyone's interested in. I don't know whether it's just because there's a lot of information to kind of digest, and whether we're not giving that or the neighbourhood plan are not giving that information to be digested in the right way. But this is the interesting bit, and we will not win a referendum if actually the local councillors do not support it and are not prepared to get involved and champion the plan within their communities. So I think it's really important that we start engaging with this process, and I'd be really interested to hear what we need to do to make that happen. Ed.
No, I think I was involved a lot more at the start. I've come away from it a little bit more recently. I agree, it's an important document that helps shape the plan for the area. I also think that alongside this at the moment, we do need to spend some time looking at the Milton Keynes city plan that has just gone out for consultation, because actually, whilst this sits with it and it's really important, the city plan and the response to the consultation on that around the site allocation is also really, really, really important, because some of the small sites might not necessarily, they don't necessarily allocate sites. I can't remember what the number is, I think it might be 10 or 15, you wouldn't necessarily see on the city plan, but they might be some of the sites that come forward in development that sit within the neighbourhood plan, but those bigger areas and those bigger allocations are really, really important. So for example, just across the road from Meaton Leys, the Levante Fields has been in there. Now you could say, I don't necessarily, we're not supportive of it, or you could say we are supportive of it because the community facilities that will come with that in a very close proximity to Meaton Leys. So there's definitely, I think, worthwhile spending some time alongside the neighbourhood plan as council looking at that.
Definitely, and that is something that was discussed at some length at the steering group. We have 2 representatives going along to the briefing meeting on the 22nd of July at the City Council. So that will be Councillor Hussain and myself going along to that. So we will bring that material that's discussed then back. I've got a meeting booked later this week with our planning consultants to talk about the way that we engage with the City Council with regard to the plan. I have had some preliminary discussions about site allocations. And I mean, I think it's an aspiration of the neighbourhood plan that might want to bring sites forward. So these are things that the Town Council really does need to get involved in. So that's why we're proposing this extraordinary meeting.
Any comments from members? Go on.
And we've got to be mindful that the new government now are changing the planning laws anyway to make it a lot easier for development. So what we used to be green and what they call grey areas, they're going to be, the grey areas are going to be built. So we've got to make sure that we're on the ball for what we're doing and watching what they're up to as well.
Thank you for that comment. I'm not sure, but there's anyone's indicated that neighbourhood plans will not have rock. But I think probably for me, even more important, is that we get this process sorted so we know what is acceptable for us. Okay, so do any members want to sign up to this to go on the steering committee? Because currently, I think at the last meeting it was myself, Richard, and a member of the community. I would be really interested to see some other members join that steering committee. I think they're happening once a month, maybe, and it's on Teams. It doesn't have to be in the room, but I'd be really interested with some more membership.
Perhaps members might feel more inclined to join when we've had the extraordinary meeting.
Let's have the extraordinary meeting.
We're going to try and infuse people.
Let's have the extraordinary meeting.
I on that.
I think you went on it on the...
I went on the last one, because I was away.
Yeah. In the group, yeah.
I've only missed one though, haven't I?
You are, sorry, yes.
You were away last week.
Sorry.
You know, just saying.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, slightly proposed dates.
Well, we're looking at August.
Okay. The only date that I can do in August is
Okay.
well, the members are more than happy to have it without. I'd like to be there.
I thought it's a Saturday, according to me.
Sorry, I'm looking at September. The only day that I think so I would have to do either, if we're having an extraordinary meeting, it would have to be the week of the 5th or the week of the 30th of July. I know that's not August.
It's a bit, that might be a bit soon, but yeah, we could do it then. I don't see why not.
So, or I could do the 27th.
I think the 5th would be the best.
No, I can't do the 27th. Or is that August?
You're in August.
Yeah, I can do the 27th of August.
I have to wait till the 27th of August.
Well, what is needed? What is needed?
What is needed?
You know, when
That's what I would go to anyway, but I mean, these are a bit hot.
I'd like to do it real then.
Okay, so in that case, I can only do on there the 30th of July and the 6th of August if we move finance. Or we could have it on another evening that week. But I know councillors hate to have more than one meeting a week.
Yeah, I would like to put myself forward for that, but I'm mindful that I would have to come off, I think, one of the others in order to commit some of my time.
Okay.
Should we wait and see?
Shall we wait for the next meeting?
Well, I think the sooner we can have the meeting, the better, but what I do want to attend. I know it's not ideal, so what are we saying? 30th of July. The show hands down.
So members,
able to attend.
how would you be able to attend on the 30th of July, an extraordinary meeting?
Apologies for late.
My house starts that week, so I'm not sure.
That's a Tuesday.
No.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
You remember it's summer holidays.
I know. We start in 2 weeks. Okay, would members prefer that or the 6th of August?
I would prefer the 6th of August.
Okay. We'd have to move the finance committee. How do you feel about
Not a lot. No, if we have to move it, we have to move it.
We can make finance.
Yeah.
that? Okay. So,
6th of
you can ask that question.
Is there a rule that it has to be a Tuesday?
Are our members happy with it being another evening of the week?
The only problem with it being another evening of the week is that I have to obtain a room, have the meeting in, and this building's booked except on Tuesday.
As an answer.
That's not to say we couldn't do it, because we might be able to do it at George Street.
Yeah.
But we can't do hybrid.
Okay, so that means it can't be streamed, which is actually really important as well. Okay, so I'm going to show hands for Tuesday the 30th of July and a show of hands for the 6th of August, which seems pretty equal to me. So what do members, who wants to make that decision?
I don't know how that was equal. You only had 2 for the second.
Right, 30th of July. Okay, can we count?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, 6th of August.
No point then.
Okay, 30th of July is Sorry, Clark, I know that's a question on you.
We'll do all that.
Okay. Thank you. Glad that we've got there. Okay, next item on the agenda is to receive a report on the parishes forum at Milton Keynes City Council. I believe Councillor Stevens, you've got an update for us.
Yeah, it was at the Chambers, so it's face to face, really, really good. As always, it was really informative. We had 4 presentations. The first being the Youth Council, which I thought they were the highlight of the evening for me. There's so much energy in the place. And really, they're fighting the cause for young people. A bit like Jason, I think actually we should think about, trying to get a youth member on our council, because there's things that we probably can influence some of our decisions in the future.
Agreed.
So I think we should try our best, and probably with best, Jason, to the young people in Bletchley to try and.
So I believe the Local Government Act does not allow us to have it, but we could think about how we can involve.
Yes,
the youth. Yeah.
It's
really good. They were so good,
Sorry?
Yes, but we can't have a youth member on this camp.
They're a breath of fresh air. They said, this is what we want, this is what we do, and they were good. So we had that one. So I took that away as really a thing that we can, we show them our strategies, our plans, our decisions. They can say, okay, we thought about this, that, for this. And that's a good inroad to if they're on a political career, or if they want a council career, or just want to do something for the community.
Can I just ask a question? Is there any particular reason why? Is it just because of age?
Yeah, it's because we're governed by statute and we're not allowed to have anybody under the age of 18 on the council. That's why councils often set up specific youth councils, which is one way of doing it. But it is in the strategic plan that we try and do something. And I think we need to sort of spend a bit more time and thought on what's the best way to involve them. And I think one of the best things we could do is talk to some young people, probably from the youth council, Milton Keynes Youth Council, about what they think would be the best way for them to be involved in parish things. But they are absolutely inspirational, aren't they?
Absolutely brilliant.
I don't think there's any harm in having an 18-year-old though.
Oh, no, we could
they're still classed as youth.
Let's get an 18-year-old, but it would be marvellous.
They brought so much energy to that meeting and they'd be like, wow, yes, we need this. The second was about Neighbourhood Watch, so the reinvigorated scheme, which was 982, sort of tailed off a bit. The thing right there, I think, is actually there should be a link between the resident associations, because it's very similar what they do, really. And we've got two very good Neighbourhood Watch advocates, I say. If we could contact all one, Eton Lees, I think they could support each other. It might be worth reaching out to them. The details are in the pack. The next one was something I hadn't seen before, was the flood and water management team. And they, again, gives a really good an oversight of what they do and things you're probably unaware of when it comes to sort of floods and water management. Particularly interested in the pack, actually. There's a couple of slides in there which I found really good. It was the roles and responsibilities of the flood. So if there's a flood on the street or is a flooding on some ground, it tells you who to ring up, which is really good. And also they have some user numbers to contact. So even if what you take out of that, or we can publish it and say, look, all this rain we've had recently, it might be a useful thing for people to know about. And also there's a flood group, and talked to Craig in Eton Lees, they use versus banks a lot. They have flood groups, so I'm not sure if we're a part of that flood group at all. But we've got a nice big river that flows through our parish, which worth getting involved with.
Can I just make a point on that? When you say versus banks, I know it's a long time ago, 25, 30 years ago, I was involved in making the batters. So when Newport Pagnell was on the verge of being flooded, we'd lift the barriers, and those areas are supposed to flood. It's not bursting its banks, they're there to take the water, stop, and then you drop it gently down, so Newport Pagnell does not get flooded.
I think if you see the erosion running in Leeds from the farm, that field just disappeared in about 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what it was for originally, to take the water away. Because it comes down, water doesn't flow just gently like it comes out of a tap, it comes down in surges. So,
but again, it's something that we...
But all the way through, all the way down to the sewage works, I was involved in my machine building batters,
And the last one was around donut economies, it looks more like a rubber ring, donut economy. It's all about sustainability and sort of economic development, I think it was. It's really making sure you don't live outside your means, to make sure you give housing and food and water. And there was I didn't get exactly how they did it, but you can do it in a town, you can do it in a city, you can do it in a country. See if you've got enough resources for that country. If you're not, and it's fairly shared out. I think it's all about that. So there's some slides in there on that, and there's a group in Milton Keynes which give a good presentation. But again, it was a really good, informative meeting, wasn't it, Delia?
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good.
Can I ask a question about Neighbourhood Watch?
Yeah.
It's something that's come up in the Residents Association around how can we engage better with the Neighbourhood Watch and sign up. Was there any talk about funding of signs and other kind of for estates that we could open up?
They didn't talk about that.
They said about signage, didn't they? They said that.
Yeah, they did talk about signage.
They did one with Fisher Mead, didn't they? A scheme with them.
Yeah.
Because I know in in the pack it says secure funding to provide necessary support for leaflets and signs, etc.
Yeah,
is that available to those contacts?
Yes,
reach out to them.
Give them a shout.
Okay, thank you.
Very supportive of councils to get involved.
I think it's also probably worth saying if there is a local residents association, so that's not the neighbourhood watch group and main need resources, there is also the grant funding that can come through this town council. I'm sure leaflets would be.
One of the challenges that we're having, sorry to digress, is around becoming a residents association. Is we can't officially be a residents association with Milton Keynes Council because we have less than 10 council buildings on the estate. And we'll never have any council buildings on the estate because they're all now via free-to-lease LNG. How do we challenge that? Because the funding is not available to us now because we cannot be an official residents association in the eyes of Milton Keynes Council.
We were exactly the same here in Newton Leeds.
Okay.
And so what we did, so we ran events, we got kind of funding for from the community. So yeah. We ran the summer fair, but probably up until 2018. We went to all of the landlords. So we had Paradigm, Hightown, BHPA. There's another one, Peabody, and literally just took them and got grants from all the housing associations and told them we get no funding from Milton Keynes Council because all of the houses here are social housing, and they've generally all got funds. And we would sit there and say, actually, we want to build the community between, there is some perceived issues around information between people who live in social housing and those who have private. We want to do something to bring the community together. So we got money for the events, we got money for newsletters, we got money for everything, and that's where our income came. But I think also Milton Keynes Council has, whilst we base Newton Leeds Residents Association's constitution on the Milton Keynes Council model constitution, we were actually quite happy that we didn't have to have them overseeing what we were doing. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, recognising stuff, your residents associations, it is stuff. What I would say is just with my hat on as my portfolio, the resident engagement team in terms of the money is that pays for resident associations. It comes from council tenants rent essentially, so it all kind of falls within the housing revenue account. And so the money that's essentially coming for those resident associations, because they've got council properties, it's coming from the rent of those tenants. So it needs to be spent on those tenants. So that's why there's a difference.
It's good to understand. That's good to feed back to the association. Perhaps we could link with.
I'd really like to talk to you about it afterwards. Bletchley Park Residents Association, they cover the whole of West Bletchley. They don't get any funding. They charge people to be a member of the residents.
It's a model that we've looked at. I'd be interested outside of this to get our residents associations maybe talking to each other a little bit more. Thank you.
Just a quickie, Chair. You can still be a registered member of the Residents Association with Milton Keynes Council. You just don't get no funding. Bletchley Park is.
Okay.
But the only thing is they do oversee things, and you can always push them for a little bit of money as well.
Sorry, I just want to say, Ron, my experience was from Newton Leeds was they said no. And I don't know whether it's been a change in policy from a certain date, but certainly we had that conversation 10.5 years ago. So they said no.
Yeah, Bletchley Park's in there.
Okay, not sure.
Get anything from them.
No, I don't get nothing, but you can be a member. You can be.
We were told we could not register with Milton Keynes Council because they did not have because it comes from the housing revenue account. They can't have anything to do with us. So I just think that's what I've been told. I think you've also been told that.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go. So thank you very much, Councillor Stevens, for attending and giving us that feedback. We'll now go on to the last item of the agenda, which is item 18, note position of the Bletchley and Fenny Stratford town deal. Clark, I know the meeting's tomorrow, so you might not have
the meeting's actually been put back to next week because the traffic modelling for the public realm engagement wasn't ready. So we are going to see the consultation materials at the board meeting next week. and the consultation has been put back. I think it's now going to run from the 7th of July to the 22nd of September. So those are different dates from the dates that we've had previously. There has been a press release from Milton Keynes City Council today, which has given some dates, and I think those are the dates. But I know that Councillor Hume's been at the advisory group tonight. I don't know if there's anything to add. No. Nothing to add from the advisory group.
It was very complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. So they
haven't even got the consultation boards ready to show you. So
they're showing them to the board first. So the board is seeing them next week, I think. I think it will be quite a complicated consultation because it is a complicated thing that they're consulting on, the transport hub and the public realm improvement to Queensway. But I do urge everyone to get involved in the consultation. And I have invited the City Council to come and do a presentation to full council on the 10th of September, which they've accepted.
Sorry, had Terry finished? Terry, had you actually finished?
Yeah.
You had? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure.
Right. So that concludes our meeting for this evening. For those people watching online, our next meeting will be on the 16th of July. Sorry, no, I believe that meeting is going to be called.
On the 30th of July.
So the next meeting will be on the 30th of July, which is our extraordinary full council meeting. I'd like to thank you for joining us online and wish you a good evening. Thank you.
Could I just ask the members of the employment policy to